All right, folks, here we are, here we go, here we be. What do you think about flat Earth is what we're talking about today. We got this sign set up right here as people drive past. They come in that direction, and then there is a light just ahead of us. So they have to slow down and at least hopefully gaze at the sign. So that's what we got going on this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are from. It's early evening here in downtown Minneapolis. Got another location set up here by the lake. Where else would we be when we got allegedly 10,000 of them? But not too many of them are set up much like Lake Calhoun, Nokomis, and Harriet, where people are just casually walking by. Hopefully we can grab some productive conversations, some good friction, and open minds. Here's how we got it all set up over here at the moment. So we got the beautiful view of the lake right in front of us. So here we are. We're all set up here. Kind of got a bit of a draft off the lake, so it's not moving the signage too much, but it does get a little crazy at times, per usual. Those aren't running shoes that she's wearing. Kind of a bit of a odd take at walking around the lake, but probably got done working over there for the man. So we got our chairs set up. We're just hanging out, waiting for some conversations to transpire. Hope y'all enjoy your time here for the next couple of hours, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe. How you doing? Cheers. How you doing?
Good. What are you advertising here?
Advertising truth. Yeah. You sure can, yeah. Has it ever crossed your mind to question where you live lately?
A friend of mine's a big flat earther, but I don't buy it.
Not into it, huh? So the lake isn't as horizontal as your shirt there?
Well, it's all based on distances, right?
Yeah, I mean the horizon, you know, it's just our perspective of how far we can see.
Here's my big question was, as far as, at least according to what he's saying.
Okay.
As far as, let's say, the sun goes, and his argument is that it's all about perception or depth of the sun.
Okay.
As far as why doesn't it? How could I see the sun set, right? How can I actually, in the size of it's not changing, I can see it go below the horizon.
Yeah. If
it's as his theory, and I don't know what your position is, but is that it's only X amount of miles away. It's if I'm on the Earth and the sun is just kind of rotating above a flat plane,
mm-hmm.
It should never fall below the horizon.
Why is that?
No, that's what he's saying.
Okay.
Because it just rotates above you.
Okay.
So there's really no. I mean, do you have a different position on that?
Well, I mean, from what I have experienced and what I've seen, and then what I've seen other people show, you know, on YouTube videos and stuff, I do have a bit of, you know, confirmation in my heart that the sun is just traveling over us, and it's just traveling further away,
right,
from our perspective.
Yeah.
And so the reason why it wouldn't get any smaller as it's traveling further away is that the atmosphere, I'll just use that term just to help you out. You could have fun with it and call it an atmosphere, right?
Right.
But let's just say the atmosphere is meeting with the horizon. You got pollution and dust and so on and so on. So that perspective is going to actually keep the sun at the same size. It's not going to necessarily get super smaller, but it's just going to keep traveling further away until. See, and what the sun
There
is.
should be a size difference, though, right? Even
Well, no, not necessarily.
Even minuscule. I mean, you should. It shouldn't. It can't be measured, is what you're saying? You don't think it could be measured?
Well, I mean, you could use the notion of a solar and lunar eclipse. You know, when the moon is traversing across the United States just recently, I think it was sometime in September or October, it was only a 70-mile wide in diameter shadow.
Okay.
Do you happen to know the diameter of the moon, what the heliocentric model says? The moon's diameter.
Actual moon diameter?
Yeah. It's about 2,000 miles.
Okay.
So during that eclipse, it should have covered almost over 2/3 of the United States if from one coastline to another is about 3,000 to 3,500 miles. But it only covered 70 miles in diameter of the moon's shadow across the Earth, or across the United States. So, with that being said, could the moon and the sun be 70 miles in diameter? Is what I'm saying.
Oh, right.
Because mainstream science says that the moon is 2,000 miles in diameter. So during a lunar eclipse, then there should be 2,000 miles in diameter of the United States covered in shadow, right?
Right.
But it's not.
Right. No, that's interesting.
So just something to think about. But another thing to think about too is, what is your conceptualization of what the sun is?
Well, just a gas.
Okay.
Star.
Is it
it's
like
a star?
Is it literally fire burning in outer space? What do you think it is?
It's fusion.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty. Yeah. But what if the sun is doing is just agitating and activating the noble gases that we see perceived as light?
Right.
Because it's like after the sun sets, it's 45 minutes to an hour of light, right? That's daylight.
Right.
So there's a difference in certain, a particular holy book, if you will, between daylight and sunlight.
Right.
So, I mean, we're experiencing sunlight, right? But there also is daylight too.
Right.
So if the sun were to vanish, could our Creator, in a sense, still illuminate the entire Earth? And I think that he can. He can do that.
Okay.
So,
interesting.
but I mean, one thing that you really want to try to focus on is, and I'm not trying to tell you what to do or anything,
No,
but I
you
know.
always got to question shit.
Yeah,
sure.
but I mean, there is the idea of gravity, right?
Yeah.
So if we can try to,
What is gravity?
If we can
That's
try to
my-
eliminate,
That's a debate that I have with my buddy all the time.
and that's a challenging debate to have, because we grow up in the presupposed idea that we live on a sphere, right? And that gravity is the reason why things fall to the ground.
Well, it's mass, right?
It's a magical force that they say is drawing things to the ground, right?
Well, its mass is two separate masses, right?
Okay, well, I mean,
So
this weighs more than the air around it. I mean, we could probably agree with that, right? I mean, you could lift it up and you could feel its weight, right?
right.
So it's going to fall to the ground. It's going to fall, right?
Yeah.
So if I was to put this above that water, would it then fall into the water to the bottom of the lake?
Well, you have buoyancy and you have resistance of viscosity of the fluid.
Okay.
So
Are
there's
we
other forces
correct?
in play? But yeah, I mean, it would drop to the bottom of the lake.
Okay.
Not
And
as quickly as through the air.
Right. And so what I'm trying to explain is, and help people realize the difference between gravity, buoyancy, and density, is that this in water, it's called buoyancy and density and so on. But when we're in a breathable atmosphere, it's called gravity.
Right.
You know? So without gravity, the heliocentric model falls apart. The sun revolves around us, the moon revolves around us, the luminaries in the sky are just used for navigational purposes, and your place on Earth for signs and wanders and so on.
Interesting.
But once you take care of gravity, planets, right, in quotes, can't exist. And so that's where the geocentric model comes in.
Right.
You know, when you're eliminating that magic with a K, gravity. So.
Right. No, that's interesting. Can I have a flyer?
Of course, yeah. You can have whatever you want. It's all here for free for you to take in. And
Can I take a picture with this and you?
yes, of course, yeah.
Sweet, man. You posting some stuff on YouTube or what?
I do this. I do this quite often actually. Probably 3 or 4 times a week.
You come out here?
Come out here, like
Usually right
McComas, Harriet, Twins game. Timberwolves game.
I'll have to get my buddy out here. He'll probably talk some stuff with you.
Hey, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, man.
Hey, you got a card?
Yeah. You can just get my
You got
contact
YouTube
information.
info on
Yep,
here?
go to the About page and you'll get my email address and all that. So
All right, Josh.
I'm on Facebook and everything. So cheers, man. Take it easy.
So, man,
How we doing?
good.
Right on.
This is interesting to run by today.
It's quite provocative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What made you get into this?
Well, I mean, I've always questioned authority, and I think that things should always be in question of what we're given by mainstream. And 9/11, I guess, was a big wake-up call, and I didn't do anything like this as aggressive as, with this 9/11 stuff, but, it has been just a progressive journey to where I felt like flat Earth is really like the end-all to be-all, something that everybody has to be challenged with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's just so interesting. I just don't see this very often. I sometimes mess with my friends about this and just whip them out, and get them out of get a rise out of them. But
Yeah, right.
this is
Yeah.
taking it to the next level. Now.
Yeah, well, it's not a meme on the internet, so what I guess I felt like doing, I actually started doing this Earth Day last year on April 22nd
Oh yeah.
when they did the March for Science at my state capitol, and I feel like they're promoting pseudoscience and scientism, and I think that the scientists and mainstream science takes it personal when people like myself, just regular civilians, challenge the mainstream narrative.
Yeah. That's what I'm
And that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm just, it's really expressing your First Amendment right,
Oh yeah.
to be able to
There's
challenge
nothing wrong with
things.
doing this, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
So,
No, I mean, have you ever had someone say put this down and?
I get name called and so on and all the time,
Yeah.
I think
don't see anything wrong with it.
I think the most interesting comments that I have gotten on some of my videos is, why are you wasting time with these people here? Why aren't you debating scientists, philosophers, so on and so on and so on? Well, because those people at those accredited levels have something to lose. Like, why would they even humor the flat Earth? Because A, they think it's not even a possibility, and B, they have family, friends, and peers where if they hear they debated a flat earther, they could lose some credibility, and I don't think that this is a credible topic for them to talk about and take seriously, so they just ignore it.
Yeah.
But if I talk to just common folk here, I think that that's really where it starts. It's kind of a grassroots type of deal.
Yeah. So you have a whole group that you work with and stuff, or is it just you?
I mean, it is just me coming out here, but I get wonderful contributions from YouTube viewers and subscribers that do feel, like they're in a position where, they can't help and come out here because I'm one of the few people that really do this, because this is a different animal. You can be a keyboard warrior all day, right? And mash on keyboards and put up, anybody can put up a YouTube video about anything, flat earth or whatever. But to actually engage with the public and bring the public your own personal knowledge of what you think about flat earth and what you think about NASA and the moon landing and stuff.
So what's your biggest argument against the Earth being round?
Well, if we're told,
being flat.
if we just agree to common scientific knowledge that the Earth is almost 3/4 water, right? I mean, there's a lot of water on that globe, right? So if we could just agree to that, which I think most flat earthers do agree with, that the Earth is mostly water. Water in a cup, in a bowl, in a pool, and in a lake always lays flat. And so I guess the challenge to you would be, at what point and at what height do you have to be to start to see it curve into a ball like you see here?
Yeah.
And since I've never been to space, I'm assuming you've never been to a distance to see the Earth in its, majesty of a ball shape. We have to take somebody else's word for it. And if I experience here in this reality water always laying flat and the oceans laying flat, at what point are they able to hypnotize us or give us information over and over so many years until we graduate high school that we start to believe water can then start to curve?
Yeah. What would be the reasoning for them wanting? Why would they care to make us think that Earth is round and so flat?
Well, I mean, it could be a narrative that they've been creating over the past couple hundred years.
But for is there any particular gain from that?
Do you feel like you're a spiritual person?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess, yeah.
Okay. Do you believe in a creator God?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you think that there is scripture out there or a book that was given to us, inspired by him, written by man that... Okay. Do you think that that particular holy book describes a spherical model, a heliocentric model where the earth spins around the sun, or the moon and the sun spin around us?
Yeah, I don't know if it ever like explicitly says.
Okay.
I don't think yeah.
Okay. There's some provocative information to show that we live in a geocentric environment in that.
Yeah.
And so since the enemy of this world does everything in opposites, that could be a reason why he created the idea of the heliocentric model. Little by little, people are attracted to certain things and ideas, and a lot of atheists and scientists don't believe particularly in a creator God, more like an evolution type of deal. And so if you're able to conceptualize the idea of evolution in billions and millions of years over time, then you can trick the masses. How you doing, man? You want a card at all, or?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Thanks, man. I took a picture. And so I guess one of the motives could be to just plant the seed that there isn't a creator God. It's just all by happenstance.
Yeah. So like if you went to space, theoretically, would you then believe it?
Space isn't real, man. Not at all.
But like if hypothetically...
It's not real, though. We're not even going to hypothetically anything. Space isn't real. That would be like me trying to convince you that Santa Claus is real again. Like, why would you even entertain the fact of a fairy tale that's not real?
Yeah.
So I don't even humor that at all, because it's not real.
So,
Nobody has ever been to outer space, man.
that's interesting.
I mean,
But
all of your pictures that you get of outer space are created on a computer or they're paintings.
I probably could agree with that.
I have a 40-minute long video in my playlist. Here's a brochure for you.
Yeah, man, I don't have this.
Yeah, my YouTube's on the bottom. That's a DVD. Take it, man. Yeah, it'll start you off on the right track with some good, provocative videos and whatnot.
I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's got probably 18 videos on there, so about over 4 gigs.
Enough stuff to keep busy.
Yeah, you'll keep
Can I have
busy.
a card?
Of course you can. Yeah. So,
Thanks.
yeah, and I got a 40-minute video in one of my playlists, and I also mirrored it, but they explain how they give you the ideas of outer space through data, graphs, and maths.
Yeah.
So then they conceptualize that into this number means blue and this number means red, and then they put that on your National Geographic, and then there's Mars.
Yeah.
So legally they can't call them photographs. Like I could take a picture of you and I could call it a photograph because that's you physically in front of me, But they can't call them that because they're not. They're images.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dude, this is really eye-opening.
So yeah, I know. I appreciate you stopping. That's why I'm here, man.
This is cool. If I see you around, I'll get my friends.
I will be around, yeah, over the next couple of months.
It's nice outside for it.
Yeah, I know, right? What's your name, man?
Was that Nick?
Nick, Joshua.
Nice to meet you, Josh.
You too, man.
Yeah,
Take it
sure.
easy. Stay hydrated
Yeah.
with that flat water. So there's your not boring introduction. Just whap, bap, bap, right off the bat. Good to see Nick. The other guy took a picture as Nick and I were talking. So, I mean, yeah, it's already feeling like a good early evening. It's 6 p.m. here Central Standard Time. So we will hang out, see what happens, and enjoy.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh no, flat Earth.
Right.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, right.
I got some information here if you want it.
Oh,
No? Can you give me one proof that you live on a ball in outer space? Prove it to yourself first, okay? Then come talk to me. He says, oh no, flat Earth. How you doing? I have a brochure here if you want to take home with you. I'm sharing flat Earth. Do you think that you live on a sphere in outer space?
No.
No? Where do you live? You live in Brooklyn Park, okay. Do you think you live here? Is your home? No. No, it's not. Why do you think it is? Do you know where you live? You live there? Okay, well, how? Why? How do you know?
That's where we live right now. What do you mean, how do I know?
Yeah, how do you know? School? School tell you? Okay. School's okay, always right?
Sometimes.
Sometimes? What if the time they were not right is the time they tell you that you live there?
So what about you do? So you tell me about that?
Yeah.
We're not living here?
No. You think your pictures are real?
I'm not sure.
No?
Why?
They are not real. They are paintings.
Yeah. What it tell you?
It's like Disney.
What it tell you that we're not living here?
Look at the water. It lays flat, right? Yeah.
And then
So how is it like this? It's a ball. That's not a ball. It's flat behind you. Look. So how is that flat, but this is a ball?
but then after all this with you where we live right now?
It's flat. I don't know where we live. I don't know what it looks like. I could show you what it looks like, but it may or may not be right.
Yeah, that's
So,
everybody.
but this is not real. This is not where you live.
Yeah.
That much I know. Because water behind you, it lays flat. All of this here, 75% is water. So if we agree that the earth is covered mostly with water, right? How is it a ball? That's flat behind you. Where are you from?
From China.
From China? Okay. You have the ocean by you? Yeah? It's flat?
Yeah. That's people confused. I don't know where we are now.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm here to do. Thank you.
And boom goes the dynamite.
It's not a golf ball, sir. It's not. You don't live on a golf ball. She's like, this is a little confusing. And I'm like, she's like, I don't know where I live now. It's a good answer. That's a good place to be. It's a good start.
not gonna be today.
Oh, not a whole lot. How about yourself?
Good. I wanted to read your sign.
Yeah, read it up.
Okay, so what's this all about?
Well, you read it, so what do you think it's about?
Something about...
Do you think the picture on your far left is a real picture of the Earth from space? Why is that? You think it's like a real picture?
Well, I don't know if that is, but there are real pictures.
There are no real pictures, sir. The picture that you're being shown there is the one on the right. The one on the left is also another picture, and the United States is two different sizes.
So you seriously think the world is flat?
I have a pretty good idea, yeah. I can somebody else's word for it.
So how can planes fly around?
How do what?
How can planes and ships navigate?
How can they circumnavigate?
Yeah.
Has it ever crossed your mind to look at a flat Earth map or anything like that? Okay, so if we were just for fun to grab like a bunch of little islands just to have fun and fill up this lake in front of us with a bunch of islands that look similar to the United States and South America, if we just get a boat and we just go around them, that's just us circumnavigating it. I mean, give me a break. Gravity isn't real and we never landed on the moon, sir. Yep. Not you, this guy walking away. He was hanging out until I mentioned that you can circumnavigate around the lake just like you can do it around this here, sir. So, do you have a proof that you live on a sphere in outer space? Not citing NASA or Hollywood? Or Galileo, yeah. So it's interesting that everyone uses old-time history as a means to debunk flat Earth, but then when you get like a camera and you see a quote ship going over the horizon, you can actually bring that object back into focus because it's just natural mirroring and refraction that happens. So
This is above my knowledge.
well, it's not above anybody's knowledge. You see the lake behind you, right?
Right.
It's flat.
Right. That's
okay.
Right.
If you have an above ground pool,
Yeah.
the water lays flat, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, when there's no wind or anything to
Right.
create waves, right?
Right.
So how is it that you were hypnotized into thinking that water on a massive scale like this turns into a ball then, and it can bend? You're literally using magic with a K to make water bend.
True.
Think about that. Come on.
No, it does. It is something to think about. I agree with you.
I mean,
Not a stupid thought.
why is it that people think that gravity is some kind of a magical force that draws things to the ground? Without gravity, your heliocentric model completely is destroyed, because outer space is not real, sir. If you think you landed on the moon, man, I can't believe you're as old as you are and you still believe in outer space.
I don't know if...
I mean,
Okay, so are you like are you a little science guy?
I also thought the Flat Earth Society was just a joke.
It's not a society, sir. That's a government-run agency to make fun of this topic. You do know what a co-op, when the CIA saw that there were black and women movements, do you think the black and women's movements were actually started from people's homes? No, of course not. The women's movement was started because they A, wanted to tax females, and B, break up the family and have them work and send the kids to the state. That's what your government did. Same thing with the black community too. They weren't taxing the black community either. And then they figured out...
They love being slaves,
No, you love being slaves. You pay your taxes every year and you give it off to the IRS.
I've never heard of this before.
Taxes?
I've
Look.
never heard of flat Minnesota. I've never heard.
Oh yeah, this is our hat that we have here in town.
Interesting.
So,
it gives you something to ponder about, though.
well, it does.
Yeah, it really does.
And I think that we should become
question
critical
things.
thinkers instead
That's
of
true.
accepting everything that is given to us.
Right.
Do you all watch the local news? I mean, every once in a while or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you know that if you were to go on YouTube, there are many videos that show up to 100 simulcasts from multiple cities in this country saying the exact same thing verbatim, and you can have them all together saying the same exact thing.
And they all do say the same thing.
All of your news is not real. It's actually scripted.
Right.
Because they're control freaks. They have to control the narrative of everything.
Right.
And so your Flat Earth Society is such a group, because what they think, they give people the idea that you live on a disk in outer space, and to create, quote, gravity, that disk is rising up to create the idea of gravity and things falling to the ground.
Right.
So even just that, them saying that, should pique your ears and say, really? Like that's what they want people to believe the Earth is. Because I get, aren't you going to fall off the edge, right?
Right.
Well, can you fall off the edge of the lake here?
Off the lake? No.
Yeah, can you fall off the edge of the lake? So what if the land and water and resources just go on forever?
Right. That's true.
I mean,
I'm going to take this with me.
I appreciate you
Interesting. Do
stopping.
you have a website?
Yeah, it's at the bottom there. It's called
All right.
Authentic Intent.
Cool.
So I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you being open-minded and stopping.
All right, thank you.
Have a wonderful walk out there.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Bye.
See you later. Just chip away at them.
Okay.
See you guys. You just got to chip away at people. It's very hard for people to separate themselves from what they love so dearly, and they've never been shown any different. This is the largest religion on earth right now. People believing they live on a sphere in outer space. I would probably say like 90% of the news that you see throughout the day is contrived narratives. It's just to control your mind. I mean, that's really what it is. It's to trigger you, it's to make you think, it's to make you worry, have fear. All sorts of different, I mean, even the commercials at night are ridiculous. I can't express enough how much television is a waste of complete time. If you want to watch some TV, you know, I would suggest getting some kind of a, you know, so as far as getting a subscription to something and specifically watch certain programs to get an idea, but not in the sense to be entertained anymore. I can't even watch TVs or movies without having to watch specific things that go on. What's the message? I don't even watch any of that to be entertained anymore. How you doing? Good, how you doing, man?
Doing well, I'm curious.
Hey, right on. That's what we're here for.
Sweet.
Pop a squat, man.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I'm Joshua.
You're Joshua?
Yeah.
I'm John.
John, nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
How's it going?
I can't complain, man. I mean, the weather's nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You know, I mean, why not hang out and have a chat instead of just keeping all my thoughts to myself, right? Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think about the shape of the Earth? Not the, you know, the drama that goes on, right? But you know, do you believe that you live on a sphere in outer space?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. What evidence can you provide that is compelling enough to change my mind, for example?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not really in this to change your mind.
Oh, okay.
I'm more in it to understand your perspective.
Okay.
I bet that you, frankly, have more evidence that you can pull up on the spot to support your side rather than mine. So
Okay.
I'm more here just to understand why you think that the Earth is not flat. But I guess.
Well, it is flat.
Okay. Or it is flat. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Why
You're
do you
good.
think the Earth is flat?
Uh-huh.
Excuse me. And I mean, frankly, I don't expect you to change my mind either. But I'm open to just whatever you have to say.
Yeah.
So I guess. In terms of evidence, like I'm assuming picture evidence doesn't really do it. Satellite evidence, I mean, like we literally can communicate across the globe in seconds because we have satellites that are held in place by gravity.
Okay.
So I guess one first question I have is, you know, obviously we all are held here by gravity. Do you share that belief?
No.
Okay. So, do you not think that gravity is like a physical force?
Well, I can challenge you by asking you this question. If I was to drop this Pez here, right? If I was to drop this Pez on the ground, on the table, right, it falls, right?
Definitely.
So, if we were out on the boat in the middle of the lake, and I was to drop it in the water, and it was to sink to the ground, what is that then called?
That's falling as well.
Okay, but what is it called though?
Sinking?
Buoyancy? Density?
Yeah, I mean it's all density. For
okay,
sure, yeah.
okay. So this
Density
weighs more than the air, or the water, right? Sure. There's going to be some resistance, but it's still going to fall to the ground of
the different density.
Okay.
Of the materials.
And so, how is it that they were able to, in a way, kind of over 12 years in high school and up to graduating, just keep instilling in us this idea of gravity, where we're in an atmosphere here where there are air and water molecules and so on.
Sure.
There, we can manipulate it, if you will, for lack of a better term, to fly and cut through the wind on certain cars to make them more aerodynamic and so on and so on. But when you talk about things falling to the ground, do you then assume that there is a core of the Earth creating that type of magnetism for things to fall, or
no,
there's a force?
Magnetism gravity and magnetism are very different things, and gravity is one of the, at least I believe it to be, one of the main physical forces in the universe that frankly I don't understand. I willingly admit I don't understand gravity. I don't know why it is a thing, but it's been observed so many times and so repeatedly that I am of the opinion that that is one of the kind of like universal forces of the universe.
Okay. Like space-time and black hole type stuff?
Exactly. I mean,
okay.
Frankly,
even though that's never been observed.
I don't know if black holes and stuff, I don't honestly know. Space-time, all I know is that
we exist in space.
Okay.
We are along some point in time. I don't know whether or not you can move backwards or forwards along that line. Obviously, we're moving forwards right now, but I mean at like a different pace than we
Sure.
are now.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of the most compelling evidence out there suggests that that those two things are related, right? So if you are moving very, very quickly, your perception of time is different than someone who is not moving very quickly at all. So I believe those things to be true. I do believe that gravity and magnetism, again, are separate. I don't think that there's anything like at the center of the Earth that's like pulling everyone in. I think it's the mass of the entire Earth that has gravitational properties.
Okay. So how is it that the moon is not colliding with the Earth? This Earth isn't colliding with the sun? Is it? It seems like it's very like just so happens that, and then they go on, you know, about the moon and the sun being the exact same size. The Earth just so happens to be...
The moon and the sun being the same size?
Well, I mean, in our perspective, they're the same size in the sky, right?
Well, in our perspective, but I mean,
Yeah.
someone across the lake over there that is exactly my size looks like a very different size than me sitting right in front of
Yeah, I know, but what I'm trying to convey here is that it just so happens that the sun is how far away?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, I could if I
Right.
just looked it up.
I know.
It's not because it's the same distance away from us as the moon.
Right, I know. But what I'm just trying, do you know how far the moon is away from the Earth?
I mean, these things have been measured a lot, and I could look it up immediately. So
I'm sure you could.
Offhand, I do not know. Like, I can't
Right.
tell you. If I sat down long enough, I'm convinced I could do my own calculations to determine how far away they are from us.
Yeah, and the fascinating part about that is...
About which part?
About knowing, I know.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I know. And the fascinating part about knowing is that all of the flat earthers know also.
Okay.
And that's why we're flat earthers.
Right, right.
Because it's so ludicrous to think that the sun and the moon, even though the sun is 93 million miles away and the moon is somewhat between 238 to 240,000 miles away,
Sure.
from our perspective, the quote moon is able to cover the sun and create an eclipse, right?
Right, but do you
That's called the Goldilocks zone, and that's a fairy tale.
What,
That's a fairy tale, man.
Goldilocks?
Yeah, it's called the Goldilocks zone, where we're not too close and we're not too far away from the sun, where we're in just the right spot to have life.
Right, and the fact
That's-
that it's called the Goldilocks zone has nothing to do with it being a fairy tale, though.
It is a fairy tale, though.
Right,
Yeah,
sure.
outer
No,
space is a fairy tale.
Okay, so if outer space is a
Yeah.
fairy tale, I mean, just I don't feel that the facts that you're bringing are convincing. So I mean,
Well, I know they're not convincing, but what you're taking is second and third party information. These are all things that
but it's like
you have not.
validated information.
It's not. No, it's not. It's not. And just like you were saying before about satellites, I'd like you to read that top article. Just read it out loud.
Undersea cables transport 99% of international data.
Okay.
That's.
So where do you get your satellites from?
What do you mean, where do
You
get
said that communication
You can look
over
at them.
No, you can't.
through a telescope.
No, there are no. Those are lights in the sky, man.
do
Those
you
are
mean
just lights in the sky that are moving.
From
They may or may not be drones, military airplanes, things that you don't know. They're lights in the sky that are moving. So for you to presuppose that they're satellites is completely off base.
So, I guess the question I have then is, it makes more sense to you to assume that that's military, or it's drones, or it's some other cause.
Or it could be just an explanation.
But what explanation? And I guess that's kind of what it comes down to is what
I got a brochure here for you guys.
Oh, I don't know if I want to screw you, but okay.
Oh, yeah. I got a small card here then for you.
I'll look at the brochure.
Okay.
I guess the
Go ahead.
question I have
Thanks,
is
man.
what better, more clear explanation do you really have rather than satellites? Because satellites, okay, if you call
Well, high altitude balloons are what provide you with your communication on Earth, and ground towers.
balloons?
Yes. Yeah.
So how does a cell phone allow me to call someone in China right now?
It's triangulating on ground towers, then transfer that data through fiber optic cables. There's also buoys in the ocean too that are at a particular distance away that they need them to be so that their communication can work also. And a lot of your southern, quote, hemisphere flights lose complete communication with, you know, control tower
Okay.
when they're over parts of the Earth. And so satellites, from what you're trying to describe them as, it would be something like this, right? I mean,
More or less. I
okay,
mean,
but where is it?
what do you mean, where is it?
Where is this satellite at?
It's in space.
No, where is this satellite right here at that I'm showing you a
Oh,
photograph
it's
of?
physically on the ground.
Okay, it is,
So
right.
if you're showing me photo evidence of a satellite on the ground, I can show you photo evidence of a satellite in space. And that,
Okay, I can show you a satellite in space right here.
Okay, that's an like artist representation
Yep.
of a satellite
Yep.
in space.
Do you have your phone on you?
I do.
I'll give you $1 for each satellite in space that doesn't look like a cartoon right now.
I don't expect you to pay me even if I find an image that I
You're not going to find them, because that's why I can say I'll give you $1 for each one that you find, because you won't.
Okay.
Because I've already been through this.
Okay.
This isn't my first rodeo, John.
No, clearly, and that's
Like, this
why-
isn't the
that's
first
why I
time
sat
that I've
down
had
and I
this
said, "Hey,
conversation.
I'm not going to be changing your mind, and I understand that.
But I want you to be challenged, though.
Right, and I mean,
I want you to critically think about what you're taking in as truth,
yeah, I
because you're
appreciate that,
taking
frankly.
it
Hey, I just
from
wanna
somebody
say,
else.
I do appreciate challenging our conception of the world and making sure that we are questioning what is really true, because I feel like that's not something that they teach us in school. It
No.
really isn't. They just tell us what they think is true.
And then you're graded on it.
Oh, and then you're graded on it. And if you do poorly, or if you try and think critically about something else, you might get graded poorly.
Right.
So I completely agree
doing?
with that. The thing that I don't
Just
agree
one
with,
second, let me go.
Yeah,
I got a brochure here for you, my man.
Are you advocating the Earth is flat?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I don't agree.
That's all right. Investigate it on your own time, man.
All right.
Water lays flat. It does not curve into a ball shape. You've never seen...
What about that experiment that 𝓱ᴏ did, where you put a post in one city and then traveled like 10 miles to put a post in another city and showed that the sun cast a different
shadows?
angled shadow?
Really? Come on, man. This is...
Come on, man, what? I'm
This is
saying.
28. This is 2018, and if you use the
literal facts on your
no,
side
these are
to
not
support your
facts.
argument.
These are not facts.
No,
this
he's
is,
not even saying that's a fact. It could
I'm
just be
asking
an
you.
anecdote.
I know.
And you're telling me to come on.
Because that's your proof, man. I do have a scientific answer. It's right here, but you walk away. It's called the curvature calculation. Do you know the curvature calculation?
Wait, I don't think he's interested in talking. Do you mind if I say that?
Nobody's interested, because
I'm
goes
interested.
against.
I'm interested
Well,
in hearing what you're saying.
I don't know if you. I mean, I appreciate you saying that.
Okay.
But people don't want to hear that they've been lied to their whole life. It's one thing to be told when you're 9 or 10 years old that Santa Claus isn't real and you forget about it.
Right.
But literally people are walking around believing in a fairy tale that they live here on this ball. And nobody can tell me the circumference of the earth. Nobody can tell me like where they live.
But why?
And then why is that not important to people?
Can you tell me how many atoms make up a mole?
Show me an atom.
Okay, well that's
Nobody's ever seen one of those before.
They have. Well, okay. I mean, I guess the question is, and nobody's ever seen it with their own naked eye. Nobody's ever seen it with what? Because they have seen it with microscopes.
Have they?
Yeah, there's actually.
Come on.
They can manipulate atoms on a single.
Yeah, they can also
atom.
manipulate math to make you believe you live here.
I guess. Okay, so just taking this discussion somewhere else, because I mean we're not making progress on this current.
Well, what I'm saying is you brought up the fact, you brought up your what you think communication is done here on Earth, and that's satellites in outer space, and that's not true.
Okay.
Okay, it's ground towers, fiber optic cables, high altitude balloons.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with outer space. Outer space is not even real, man.
So what is what is outside of this? So, okay, let's stick with the Earth being flat for the sake of this.
Okay.
Is there nothing else? What else? What else outside of Earth exists in that case?
Okay, so in your imagination, in your thought, what would a flat Earth look like? Could you
not sure, and
could you visualize it?
I can't.
You can't.
No.
Is it a disc floating in outer space?
That's kind of what I would imagine, except it's not floating in something, because in you're saying outer space doesn't exist. So I guess I'm asking you then for, I have my own preconceived notion.
Which is fine.
Right, no,
Yeah.
I'm not saying, like, my understanding of where Earth fits into the rest of anything else in existence is fairly limited.
Yeah.
But it's that we are on Earth, and we are moving around a sun, and there are other things at play in the universe. And I
Okay.
guess I'm asking what you believe to be existing outside of a flat Earth.
Okay, well, there may or may not be a boundary.
Okay.
Okay, it could go on infinitely.
Okay.
So water and land could go on infinitely.
Sure.
You can't fall off the edge of the lake, can you?
No.
Right.
Exactly.
So you'll just end up on more land then, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then when you have land, that land will have mountains, valleys, plateaus, and so on, right?
Right. I mean, there will be more land.
Okay, so I think that, we could probably agree that, have you flown overseas before?
I have, yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of water, right?
There's quite a bit of water.
Quite a bit of water, right? So we could probably agree that at least 3/4 of the Earth is covered in water, right?
Probably, yeah, roughly like 70% or so. in the
Okay.
70s.
And so with our observations of seeing water laying flat, like here in front of us at a lake, a pool, in a cup, at what point are they able to convince us with paintings like I showed you and images that aren't real, that we then conceptualize in our mind a ball spinning in outer space? Because it is still spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, but we don't feel us spinning right now. No, it's just over. It's about 1,000 miles, 60, 24 or something like that.
Okay.
So I got a brochure here for you, bud.
Check it out.
All right, man. Well, if you grabbed a brochure, you could take it home and watch the YouTube channel that you're on.
If I'm like really not.
Cheers. So, at what point does then this massive amount of water on this ball then turn into a sphere? Like, how is it that you can prove to me that gravity is making that happen?
I don't think I can. At least sitting at this table, I don't believe that I can. So
where would you have to go here in our reality on Earth to show us, not using like a parabolic flight or something like that, that
well, why not using a parabolic flight?
Well, because that's just manipulating, the air and how water is able to turn into a sphere when there is weightlessness.
What do you mean when there is weightlessness?
It's a phenomenon. They must have won their soccer game, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the phenomenon to which, when you have water, it's able to form into a sphere. But that's not anti-gravity, though.
No, it's not anti-gravity.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced I understand the point you're trying to make there. But if I was going to try to convince you that the Earth was actually a sphere, I think that the only way that I would be able to do that is to show you with your own eyes. I don't think that you're going to accept anybody else's opinion, as fact, and that's fully fair for you to do. Like, you want to critically observe the world, and you only really seem to be trusting your own judgment, your own observations, which, I respect that.
A majority of the time. I've been to Southeast Asia, so I know that Thailand, quote, exists, right? Or there's a place where everybody just so happens to speak Thai, right?
Sure.
Right? It's a movie set. Like people want to say about Australia. I've never been.
What do you mean it's a movie set?
It's a flat Earth joke.
Oh, okay.
And if I was to never have gone to Australia, but I met some people here in America that live there, and they don't, and I can perceive, that they're not the types of people that would lie.
Okay.
And maybe over a period of time, I've built a relationship with these people, and then I am convinced by their testimony that they live in Australia and it's a real place that you can go to. Then I wouldn't have to go there.
Okay.
But with NASA and military industrial complex, they have shown a history of lying.
Oh, totally.
So
government, you cannot take the government's word as fact. And I don't necessarily take the government's word as fact. Just because the government happens to agree with something I individually believe to be fact doesn't make it any less strong, though, in my opinion.
Okay.
So Okay, so you said if the flat Earth, like if the Earth is flat,
Yeah.
it could go on indefinitely. Is that are there other potential ways that a flat Earth could exist?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it could be like this disc here, and then there could be, you know, the alleged ice wall, and that alleged ice wall, which is holding all the water in.
That's not.
Yeah, this is called the ∞ map.
No, I know what this map is, but it's not proposing that there's an ice wall around us. It's just the only way that you can represent a sphere in 2 dimensions.
No, it is actually representing. That's what the ∞ map tends to prescribe to, is that there is an ice wall. You familiar with the guy's testimony called Admiral Byrd? He's a military guy.
No, I'm not.
You know, so he's military, so you can take his testimony for, you know, whatever you want, but
I don't take it for much.
Right.
It's our last discussion, but yeah.
so, well, he allegedly saw that there was more land past the quote ice wall.
Really?
Which is even alleged that there's even ice at that longitude, latitude area. You know, so I mean, it could be. He was past the 60-degree, you know, mark. So there is an Antarctic treaty. So actually, your civilians are not allowed to go past this area.
Okay.
You know, so that would be like, you know, saying, yeah, you can go around, walk around Lake Calhoun, but you can't walk across the street to your car.
No, I understand.
You can only stay in this particular area.
Sure, yeah.
And so there are some fascinating testimonies to show that even in the North Pole, that there's vegetation and it actually looks much like we're looking at right now. So, I mean, you can take that for what it's worth, but that is the other conceptualization of a flat Earth map, is that I would agree with. The Mercator map and the Pac-Man model, where the sun just magically appears from one end to the other, is it's very difficult for me to get into that. But yeah, so the ice wall concept would be the other one, where it's just holding all the water in, and this is allegedly 60,000 miles in circumference.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So that's another possible, like,
and if you climb up over the ice wall, right, and you go like a couple thousand miles in one direction, just make sure you go in one direction, whichever tools and resources you use, you could maybe, right, this is alleged, drop down another ice wall, drop down, and then find more land and such.
So pretty much there might be an ice wall and we don't know what's beyond it.
Possibly, yeah. Or it could go on infinitely, like water world. Like there just could be infinite amount of water, you know. So
how do you explain something like? Well, let's see.
Because you don't feel yourself spinning right now, do you?
No, I guess I'm wondering. No, of course I don't.
Okay, so how can so with let's sticking on the flat Earth topic, right? How couldn't the sun and the moon just be traversing above us and we're stationary, not spinning?
In theory, that might be possible, but I guess to counter that question, have you ever been on a high-speed train or any car or anything?
I mean, Thailand has some decent fast trains, but
did you go on them? I mean,
yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is when you're in a moving vehicle, moving the same speed as the vehicle, you don't feel like you're moving, though.
Well, you still do feel acceleration and deceleration.
You feel acceleration and deceleration, but that's not what we're doing right now. The Earth is not accelerating and decelerating as it spins. It's just holding constant.
Okay, so what happens when you roll down the window or flip the convertible top down?
What do you mean?
When you're in this car, right?
Yeah.
That you're explaining.
Yeah.
You don't feel yourself moving, right?
Right.
Okay, well, what happens when you take the top off?
Then something that is not moving the same speed as you hits you.
Right, the wind.
Something that's not moving the same speed as you,
right,
hits you.
The wind.
The wind.
Okay, so you're admitting that that's an enclosed environment then, right?
That
inside the car.
Inside the car is an enclosed
environment. That's exactly what I'm saying. We live in an enclosed environment.
Which is why we don't feel like we're spinning.
Because we're not.
Okay, but
you're going along with what I'm saying. You're actually helping the argument for flat Earth.
No,
because we know that there's
like we weren't spinning. So
because we're not.
Telling you why we. Okay.
This is what you've been told. Mm-hmm. You're regurgitating the ideas that you remember having in school. You're not learning. We just admitted that you're not learning in school. You're just regurgitating answers onto a piece of paper.
I don't want you putting words in my mouth, especially if this is on YouTube. I never said that you don't learn in school. Is one, used productively, or two, teaching you how to think in the right ways.
Okay.
So
Well, maybe you've been taught to think the wrong way.
Oh, definitely. You could.
And maybe I'm trying to explain to you that we're not spinning. You don't feel like you're spinning because we're not. Okay? Because there is a firmament above us that is above us that we can't get out of.
Okay.
And that there's no outer space. And that we are in an enclosed environment. And so if, with that being said...
Both of our arguments on that side, though, is you're saying we don't feel like we're spinning because we're not. And me saying we don't feel like we're spinning because we're in an enclosed environment that is spinning. Both of those still are valid. And I mean,
with a vacuum, above you, right?
Exist.
Outer space has a vacuum, right?
It's not a vacuum. It's not like a Hoover, right? It's not sucking. It's a low pressure environment.
Yeah, okay. So with that being said, if you and I were to make it with a plastic cube, right? Seal it up and everything, it's a cube.
Okay.
Okay? We hook a vacuum up to it and then we suck.
It's not a vacuum.
But then
that's exactly what I'm
Can
saying.
you let me finish?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay? All right? Let me finish and then you can retort, okay? We hook a vacuum up to it and we suck all the air out of it, right? So then you have a low pressurized system inside that cube then, right?
Okay.
So how do we get inside that cube, or how do we get out of it?
What do you mean, how do we get out of it?
How do we get inside the vacuum chamber, or how do we get out of the vacuum chamber?
If it's just a cube?
If it's a plastic cube, yeah.
Puncture it.
How do we puncture it?
I don't know, if you're talking about just a cube, you could take a knife and open it up.
Okay, or a drill, you know,
drill, yeah,
right?
Anything that you
Okay, and so that low pressurized system inside that cube is then going to be equilibrium, right? It's going to equal up with the air around it on the outside, right?
Totally.
Okay.
So you're saying that there's something holding out the rest of the universe from the Earth?
Yes.
Like some membrane of some sort?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess...
But it's not a sphere, though.
Right.
I saw you doing the sphere.
Right, no, I'm not okay. But the difficulty there is I have nothing to refute that argument if you don't believe in gravity. So like those two things kind of go interchangeably.
I see, man. See, and that's magic with a K.
It's not, see, okay, I don't personally believe it to be magic. Don't know what the K part is for.
All right, we'll look into that.
It's more the principle of, to understand more about the world, you have to build upon tested and proven observations of the world. And if you don't agree on the foundational observations that people have repeatedly proven over and over, you're never going to
name two of them.
What, like Isaac Newton and Pythagoras and...
Name the experiments. An apple falling on some guy's head, is that even really, is that a real story?
Do you really think that that is all the proof of
You just brought up Isaac, though. I mean, what?
Okay, that's because he happened to be the guy that...
Did what?
That figured out that gravity was one of the, like, ruling forces of our universe.
It's never been proven, man. It's still a theory.
See, I just can't...
And just to say...
a conversation on those grounds.
Why? You can't, but it is a theory, though. It's still just an assumption. It's a presupposed notion that when you're born in this reality, you live here on this sphere. That's not true, though. That's a presupposition.
Have you studied science? Like, what did you go to school for? I'm curious.
Why does that matter?
Oh, I'm just curious if you understand the scientific principle.
I understand the scientific method, and 6 times the United States allegedly went to the moon until 72 because of a, quote, space race with the Russians, right?
Okay.
Even if just for spite, if I saw the Chicago Bears as the Minnesota Viking do something, I would just land on the moon for spite to prove that I can do it too. But nobody has ever landed. Hey, thanks a lot.
I'm not sure where the Chicago Bears fit into that argument.
I'm saying that we were rivals with the Russians at the time.
Yeah.
That's why the alleged space race happened. So let me finish my point.
Okay, yeah.
Nobody has ever landed a man on the moon since 1972.
Okay.
No other country.
Okay.
So that's the scientific method. The scientific method...
What is the scientific method in that?
The scientific method is Russia going up and proving that it can be done.
That's not the scientific method.
Yeah, that is the scientific method.
The scientific method is testing and repeating your observations.
Yeah, so the Russians observed the Americans going to outer space and landing on the moon.
Your credibility is like, phew, when I see you getting like a little worked up. Just a tip.
Okay, well, thanks for the tip.
And
so I have passion, and I hate people walking around believing in Santa Claus when they're 35 years old.
So I guess one question I have as well is...
The scientific method is repeating an observation and then doing it yourself, right?
Well, no.
So why didn't the Russians do it?
Doing it yourself.
So why didn't the Russians do it?
I'm not going to go prove gravity exists again.
So why didn't the Russians do it? Why didn't the Russians land on the moon then?
I don't know. I'm not Russia.
Because he can't. Because you can't.
I would guess that's not the actual reason.
Because you can't.
Okay.
Do you believe that they landed on the moon?
You know, I do. I really do.
Come on, John.
What? But I mean, that's the same as me saying, do you believe the Earth is flat? And then you saying yes, and me saying, come on, Joshua. Like, I mean, that's like that's the same.
What about 9/11?
How does that have anything to do with?
I just want to understand the history of things that
this
you
just sounds like it sounds like we're just getting more into conspiracy theory rather than.
Because there are no conspiracies. What is a conspiracy?
It's basically trying to come up with an alternate explanation of
No,
something.
it's not.
Okay, what is it then?
A conspiracy is a group of 2 or 3 or more people conspiring to do something.
Okay, and in the context of a conspiracy theory, it's a group of 2 or more people that are agreeing to believe a certain set of, observations to support a point that widely is not recognized to be true. And again,
Given by who?
given by not necessarily the government. I know that's where you're going.
John, answer the question, if you don't mind, please.
Uh-huh.
Do you believe 9/11 happened the way prescribed by mainstream media?
That's an interesting question, and I feel like there's a lot of layers that go within that. Largely yes. Largely yes, to the point that you would be very disappointed in me. But only to the sense that there were some, depending on your perspective, terrorist organizations, from the United States perspective, terrorist organizations, that decided to crash planes into buildings. Many buildings, not just the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, I think they were aiming for the White House too. I don't.
Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania? Yeah, I mean, so I believe that part of the story. I don't know about steel doesn't melt in that temperature, so there must have been other explosions. I don't know about any of that stuff because I personally have not, and maybe you'll probably jump on me for this, but I have not found it within my personal interest enough to go try and refute what seems like the most easy explanation. Like, it's the whole Occam's razor principle. It's if there is no reason for me to refute something that is far and away the most obvious explanation, then I will choose not to do that, and I'll spend more time in a way that I see to be more productive.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and there are things that some people are called to do, that in this reality we have particular responsibilities, I guess, and I guess my accountability is with our Creator, and I would feel incredibly regretful if I didn't do what I'm doing now and informing the public about what they're doing. So
I guess that does kind of answer one of my questions is, why? Clearly, time is important to people, so why do you spend your time, discussing with people these beliefs that you have?
Is it better to go watch a baseball game right now?
No.
Okay.
No.
Is it better to bike around and walk around and exercise?
I mean, there's definite value to that, and it depends what you mean by better.
Okay.
And I mean, it is all a matter of perspective, which might be what you're getting at. Like, this is your preferred use of your time.
Yeah.
Which, frankly, I can't possibly, refute. It's a beautiful day out. I like sitting out here too.
Yeah, right. No, I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah.
Clearly, we're not going to agree on everything. I'm sure there are.
It's not about,
there are things. Yeah, but it is about me really sitting here and hopefully presenting a testimony over a period of time and being consistent with it to show people that this is a serious matter, that I wouldn't have set up a table regarding 9/11 because that can be a lot of, it can be, there can be a lot of various things that are, definitely subjective, but a homosexual, a black, a Jew, a woman, a kid can all see that water lays flat. You know, and if you're using your natural instincts and your observations here on Earth, and you were never taught gravity, you wouldn't have any other reason to doubt how water lays flat and whatever.
I'm not sure that the water thing is working for me. I mean, say you take something, like using this globe, right? Say you take something the size of Hawaii on this globe, and you literally cut it out of this globe, right? And you blow it up to be, you know, let's just go with 1,000 times larger than it is on this sphere. And then you looked at it. It would look pretty damn flat. Like, I mean, do you disagree with that? It would look pretty flat.
I'm using the calculations that they give us on the circumference of the Earth, though, John.
Right, and I'm using
and
a sphere.
Observational mathemagic is what we like to call it, shows that it's impossible for the globe to be a real observation over water.
Over water?
Yeah, because what they should have done is they should have made the circumference of the Earth bigger than, you know, do you know the curvature calculation?
Of course I don't. Nobody knows that offhand.
I know,
except for you.
because they never taught that, you know, and I didn't know it until something like 3 years ago, you know, so for my fellow Americans and, you know, human beings here on Earth to not know these things, it seems like a lot of information was withheld on purpose to keep us at a particular maybe frequency or vibrational stance where we walk around in complete ignorance but enjoy the simple things in life. And I think that there's more to life than just enjoying, you know, a PS4 game at home. You know, that's just me.
Yeah, no, I totally.
And by all means, I spent thousands of hours at the last, you know, something like 25 years playing video games.
Right. I mean, there's not to be said there's no
You know,
enjoyment that can
so-
be gained from video games.
But you know, I mean,
Best use of your time.
but you definitely want to. I limit myself in even just a lot of things that I used to enjoy, because I see myself getting into a particular vibration and like a certain sense about me that just makes me feel uncomfortable. It's almost like you're oozing in back into the reality. And I don't much like this place anymore, personally. And I think
I hear that, but
well, there's a lot of deception. There's a lot of lies.
oh, I agree. I agree
know?
with that statement in general.
So, I mean, if at least I can just inform 1 or 2 or 3 people just to think about it and explore on their own time and see how water reacts in our reality without using gravity as a way to explain things away when you can't have a particular, you know, conclusion about something, and then you're basing everything on assumptions, off of assumptions. And your illustration with Hawaii, you would never be able to see that from that size because that doesn't exist. You wouldn't be able to get high enough to observe that.
No, that's not what I was saying. I was saying if you literally physically were able to cut a chunk the size of Hawaii out of this globe, which you agree is a sphere. This is clearly a sphere.
Well, this right here, it's a model, but it's a graven image.
Right, this right here is clearly a sphere. If you cut off of this physical sphere a tiny square and then blew that thing up, if you managed to blow it up in its exact dimensions to be, you know, the size of that lake, if you were somehow able to do that, how curved do you think it would look?
I don't see what you're trying to say here, though.
I mean, I'm not sure what part of the question is difficult. Like, if you were to do that, would it look like it was curved? If you were able to
I could shave the land to make it look curved, yes.
That's not what I'm asking, though.
But water lays flat.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. So it's not flat right here in front of us. The oceans aren't flat.
No.
There's been no measurable curvature observation ever. You do know that, right?
Are you stating that as a fact, or?
Go look it up yourself, and then you'll find whether I'm speaking truth or not.
That's not a fair thing to ask of me, because even if I looked it up right now and said, hey, here are different measures of the curvature of the Earth, you would just come back and say none of them are true.
Maybe I would or wouldn't, but you haven't started to look yet. You just like you never started looking at satellites in space either.
That's because I'm convinced that path
How y'all doing?
take.
Is this how about the Earth is flat?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I take a
Oh, of course you can.
pamphlet?
Do you have a computer at home?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, yeah. There you go.
Hey,
Check
actually,
it out.
I do have to run, unfortunately. I've had
It's all good, John.
interesting discussion.
Yeah, you too, man.
I appreciate you sitting down and talking about that. Do you mind if I take a selfie with you? I've
Oh,
been
of course you
taking a
can.
selfie
Yeah.
every day for about 6 years.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's been
Right
an
on, man.
interesting talk. All right. Thanks,
Cheers, man. Have a good ride out there, my man.
Yeah, have a good one.
Laters.
So like, what are these like all the reasonings you have on why the Earth is flat?
It's good circumstantial evidence. Yeah, I mean, they're observations that people can do here on Earth, and you can also observe, you know, regarding pictures of outer space, cartoons, CGI, paintings, composite images.
Or like, what about those pictures of NASA? It says like the Earth is round.
Yeah, like this right here.
Yeah. So how do you?
Yeah, so which one of these pictures shows the accurate size of America?
I don't know.
You know, yeah, I don't know either, because they're both different, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So why would they make, why did America, I mean, America is growing in size in terms of obesity. It's a serious epidemic, but I mean, let's be real here. America is two different sizes. You can't have a continent grow that exponentially within just a year. And they do it because they know they can, because you won't ever question them.
Or if the Earth is flat, if someone like walked down the edge, would they die?
Like, what's the edge? Can you
Or
give me,
stop somewhere?
I mean, can you give me your idea of the edge, though?
Well, like this is the Earth.
Mhm.
So just like.
And then, no. That's, you're being hypnotized if you think that that's true. Do you think, so it's an island floating in outer space, so outer space to you would have to be real then, right? What if outer space didn't exist at all? And the land and the water and the resources just went on infinitely horizontally. And we couldn't go up any further than, I don't know, 50, 60 miles. Just for argument's sake. So there wouldn't be an edge to fall off of, just like you can't fall off the edge of the lake, can you?
No.
Right, you'll just end up on more land, right?
Yeah.
Or if there's an infinite amount of water, you know. But, you know, I guess my point is your biggest totem, you've seen the Inception movie, right?
Yeah.
So he has a tool, right, to be able to tell whether he's in reality or the dream world, right? If he's in the dream world, his totem spins forever, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and if he's in reality, maybe you get 3-4 minutes out of it and it falls down, right? Mm-hmm. Water is that same reality check here. Okay, water lays flat and level. We use level water bubbles to build skyscrapers and homes, right? So at what point were they able to convince us that water can then curve into a ball and bend to create a, quote, planet in outer space? 12 years of indoctrination and repeating over and over and over again that you live here. Now to ever question that, you would never run into anybody that would think the earth is flat, right? Because you don't hang out with those types of people. That would just be like a 6-year-old hanging out in elementary school. Are you going to ever run into somebody that doesn't believe in Santa Claus? Probably not, right? Most likely not. So you're just surrounding yourself by a bunch of yes men. So you need to start critically thinking about your reality and where you live. You know, that's I mean, that's my stern talk, I guess, but you know, I mean, you all look like you know, question authority. That's all I got to say. You know, just always wonder what's going on. Wonder why they're showing me this on TV on the newscast. Because I'll tell you what, over 90% of all the news that you're given through mainstream is totally scripted.
So would you go in a rocket ship if you could?
Can't.
I'm saying if you could.
I mean, if you could, but it's just going to go back into land here on Earth. It's not going anywhere. Outer space is not real, man. It is not. It is a complete fabrication and imagination. So.
But like, if someone told us the Earth is like round, what do we get from that? Like,
that's up to you to find out whether it's important or not. You know, they get $52 million a day. Just NASA gets $52 million a day. They are part of the military-industrial complex. So through your tax money that you pay every year to the IRS, which is...
Do you pay taxes?
I may or may not. And they're getting that money, and you're paying it to the IRS, and you're not even paying a percentage of the interest. That's why Americans pay taxes, is to pay the interest off the loans the Fed Reserve gets from the United States. Okay, so when you're paying your taxes, you're literally like on the Matrix, a battery. Literally, not kidding. Like that's not a very good life to live. You know, so, and get informed and find out where the Fed Reserve Bank came from in 1913 to 1933, and find out who did it. Find out why the wars were started. Find out why there's just this bad guy during World War II, and why there's these victims, right?
Thank you.
I mean, that's, you know, information overload, I know, but on that disc, I hope that it just helps compel you to look into it. So,
Will do.
Cheers, guys. Have a nice afternoon. And boom goes the dynamite. You know, sometimes it's like when you talk to people, you have so much information, you want to share it, because then once they walk away, they're walking away forever. You might not ever see these people again, and they might not ever look at your information. It might just be, you know, they get lost, caught up in life. It's not anything personal. But as these people walk away, you just got to pray that they are compelled to look at it. And why it's important to me is totally different until you really commit yourself to the earth being a level, motionless, non-spinning plane. Some of the people that walk by here that I see running and then they stop walking and they're not even like looking at the sign, I just want to like tell them, come on, can't be stopped walking, gotta keep running. This lake here is about 3 miles in diameter or in circumference. So if you were to run around it, might take you probably at a good pace, I don't know, probably 40 minutes or so to get around from one point to the other. To circumnavigate the lake, but you never know what you're gonna get when you're chilling here. A lot of characters, personalities. John was a great catch. I hope he's able to critically think and let go of that gravity thing. That gravity that's a total mind screw. You really got people on that bit real hard. And even your mainstream scientists and stuff, that everything falls in line with gravity. What a terrifying idea to just always think. I can't thank God enough for waking me up to this deception and this lie. And I think it was on point and good timing in my life that I was ready for something like this. To be able to convey this message to people in a stern manner, like the girl. She shows up at a time when I start getting passionate about it and start telling John, right? And then she's trying to thought police me? Come on. Really? You're gonna thought police me at my table? Give me a break. Talk about it. It's always better to talk about it than laugh at somebody. You know, it's like you got to teach these people to be adults and not laugh at people. It's funny when they walk by or laugh, or you have people in your own personal life who call you crazy or, you know, all sorts of mean things to... How you doing? How you doing? Hey. it's like, what are they basing their truth on? Where are they getting their foundation of truth to be able to then judge somebody who's talking about flat Earth or other coincidence theories? Oh, they're getting their foundation from mainstream media and their education. So if people that are around them and their thoughts don't line up with mainstream media and their education, then we mock and ridicule them. We make fun of them. We ostracize them from the community, family, peers, friends, and hopefully they figure it out, and then we'll accept them back into the club. You know. But some of these people that just walk by and smirk and smile and expect me to every time just let him walk by in this pious feeling that they have over me. It's not going to happen all the time. Sometimes we're going to confront and ask them to turn around and talk about it instead of just walking away in laughter and egomaniacal ideas. How's it going, man? I got a brochure here for you. Of course not. Why would you want it? Ready? But you can turn around and take a picture. Yep, I'm watching you, bud. All right, man. Check out the YouTube channel on the bottom.
Of course.
Right on. Cheers. You can take a picture of the sign if you want. I know you're itching.
As Mayor Amschel Rothschild said, "Let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who writes the laws." More recently, Richard McKenna, former president of Midland's Bank of England, said, "Those that create and issue the money and credit direct the policies of government and hold in their hands the destiny of the people." Alex Christopher wrote, "It is a well-known fact that international bankers have financed nations to fight against each other. Where do you think the countries get their money to buy tanks, guns, uniforms, etc., to arm their nation for war? They borrow from international bankers. International bankers have financed both sides of countries at war with each other. They don't care who wins, because while the nations are borrowing huge amounts of money to kill each other, international bankers make huge amounts on money from the interest charges that they make each nation pay. They also have the power to control the outcome of the war by simply cutting off the flow of money they lend. So under the threat of war, international bankers have used their power to gain or increase control over governments. By keeping a nation in debt, they are in a position to demand a voice in the government affairs of the nation. Another goal, which they have already achieved, is to control all the world's monetary systems." Thomas Jefferson said, "I sincerely believe that banking establishments are more dangerous than standing armies. If the American people ever allow the private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and the corporations that grow up around them will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered." Despite Jefferson's warnings, in 1791, Alexander Hamilton, the Secretary of the Treasury, pushed a congressional charter through to create the first Bank of the United States, which stood for 20 years, until 1811, when President James Madison and Vice President George Clinton refused to sign and renew the charter. The next presidential assassination happened 20 years later, when a supposed anarchist shot William McKinley twice at point-blank range. Once again, McKinley was a strong supporter of the gold standard and helped pass the Gold Standard Act of 1900, less than a year before his death. On November 22, 1910, 7 of the richest men in the world met at J.P. Morgan's personal island retreat off the coast of Georgia called Jekyll Island. The 7 men were Frank A. Vanderlip, Abraham Piet Andrew, Henry P. Davidson, Charles D. Norton, Benjamin Strong, Paul Moritz Warburg, and Nelson W. Aldrich. Behind these men stood the banking and investment interests of the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Schiffs, Morgans, and Warburgs. The 7 Jekyll Island conspirators met for 7 days and planned a series of radical banking reforms necessary to create the Federal Reserve. When the media learned about Jekyll Island meetings, the bankers all claimed they were out duck hunting. Later in life, however, conspirator and president of New York National City Bank, Frank A. Vanderlip, admitted otherwise when he wrote, "There was an occasion near the close of 1910 when I was as secretive, indeed as furtive as any conspirator. I do not feel it is any exaggeration to speak of our secret expedition to Jekyll Island as the occasion of the actual conception of what eventually became the Federal Reserve System." Woodrow Wilson had said of the earlier 3 financial crises that all this trouble could be averted if we appointed a committee of 6 or 7 public-spirited men like J.P. Morgan to handle the affairs of our country. And that is exactly what happened. Ralph Epperson wrote, "So the American people who had suffered through the American Revolution, the War of 1812, the battles between Andrew Jackson and the Second Bank of the United States, the Civil War, the previous panics of 1873 and 1893, and now the panic of 1907, were finally conditioned to the point of accepting the solution offered by those who had caused all of these events, the international bankers. That solution was a central bank." Gary Allen wrote, "To think that the crash of 1929 was an accident or the result of stupidity defies all logic. The international bankers who promoted the inflationary policies and pushed the propaganda which pumped up the stock market represented too many generations of accumulated expertise to have blundered it into the Great Depression. It was the game of boom and bust, using economic crisis to consolidate political power at the top where it can be most easily controlled. The major cause of the economic collapse was the deliberately created credit inflation by the Federal Reserve. In 6 years, it had inflated the money supply by 62%, inducing market speculations and unwise investments by middle Americans who were being set up for a shearing. When the shearing came, the sheep took a realistic look at their economy and panicked. Optimism was replaced by economic despair. Despair produced a willingness to accept a major expansion of government controls over the economy. During the Depression, Congressman Louis T. McFadden was a very outspoken voice against the Federal Reserve. Regarding the Great Depression, he said, "It was not accidental. It was a carefully contrived occurrence. The international bankers sought to bring about a condition of despair here so that they might emerge as rulers of us all." In 1932, he said, "We have in this country one of the most corrupt institutions the world has ever known. I refer to the Federal Reserve Board and the Federal Reserve Banks. The Federal Reserve Board has cheated the people of the United States out of enough money to pay the national debt 3 times over. This evil institution has impoverished and ruined the people of the United States, has bankrupted itself, and has practically bankrupted our government. It has done this through the defects of the law under which it operates, through the maladministration of the law by the Federal Reserve Board, and through the corrupt practices of the moneyed vultures who control it." Proceeding McFadden's activism, he received a series of death threats, and then died of food poisoning shortly after, under suspicious circumstances. In 1963, President Kennedy passed Executive Order 11110, which stripped the Federal Reserve from its power to loan money to the U.S. government. It also called for the printing of $450 billion in U.S.-backed debt-free currency, and gave the Treasury Department the authority to issue silver certificates against the Treasury's silver holdings. 6 months after this, JFK was killed. As soon as his successor Lyndon Johnson took office, the first thing he did was suspend the printing of JFK's silver certificates, and took them out of circulation.
I can hear you. How's everybody doing out there? Yeah, so they just walked by and act like I can't hear. Lois knows that I can hear everything. But I just want to thank everybody for watching. That's going to be just about it. We're wrapping up the night. It's coming up on just about 9 p.m. So I had some good conversations. I had mentioned in a previous video that if you are going to do this, make sure you hit the record button. And if you're doing any kind of recording or wanting to keep your songs recorded and on a memory card, that's the #1 thing you got to do. So guess who forgot to hit record for about 30 minutes? Missed out on a couple of good conversations, but you know, what do you want from me? We're here, and you know, maybe they weren't meant to be recorded, so maybe we'll talk to them again in the future. Some of these people that walk by or bike by, if they stop, then I'll actually ask them if they want some information, but not everybody does that. So I just want to thank everybody for watching and hanging out for the duration. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you haven't yet, make sure that you check out some of my old school previous videos from last year. You can probably see a lot of different progression from what I was doing before into what I'm doing now, and hopefully that'll give you more confidence to be able to do this on your own time. Whether it's on camera or off camera, it doesn't really matter. You're held accountable to what you got to do and what you feel led to do. And if it's encouraging you to talk to your friends and family, how y'all doing? Hey, I got a brochure here for you. Want to check it out? Yeah, why not, right? Thanks a lot. Y'all have a good walk out there. And I get a lot of, you know, comments from people that watching this has given them just that kind of push over the edge to be able to do it. Once you watch maybe a couple of hours or episodes of this channel, it'll give you a better idea of what not to say, right? Because I'm not perfect, and maybe you got a better way to convey the message to people. But if you do like what is said, you know, then repeat it, use it as your own. And you know, I don't want to take credit for anything, because I have heard a lot of what I come up with through other people also. So I can't thank you enough for all the comments out there. We're trying to keep the comments section up to date so that, you know, there's always new conversations going on out there. And just challenge yourself to get out there and do your own personal activism, whether it's with, you know, friends and family or coworkers. If you feel like that's something that you want to do, and if you want to avoid that altogether, just bring it up while you're in line at a checkout counter in a grocery store, or talk to somebody at the park and just pull up next to them and have a conversation with them. I think this is gonna, you know, just even doing that is gonna really open up a lot of, you know, just the ability for us to communicate with each other again. I think we have, with technology, lost our ability to communicate, and we just text, and we lose that humanness that is always with us. But we try to use that medium of television and internets and even video chatting. I mean, that's cool and all if you're not able to be in the same country as that person, but you know, maybe flat earth activism is going to be able to kind of catapult how us as a society have lost our ability to communicate one-to-one, face-to-face. Because then it gives people, like, you have to speak what's on your mind. You don't have 5 or 10 minutes to wait to respond, and you know, you have to really respond on the spot. So that's about it for the that's about it for the outro. So love you guys out there. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you all soon.